Good afternoon, John.
I have
Gary,
not seen Relisteen yet.
Yeah, I've not seen her either.
Okay, so I'll just plan on that, if that's okay, Mark, here in 2 minutes.
Yes.
Seems I'm able to speak, but I can't hear anybody.
John, you can't hear me?
Can you hear me, John?
Log out, and log back in, John, if you can hear us. John, any luck? Madam Chair, do you want to go ahead and just start, or what do you want to do?
Gary, I don't think we have a quorum right now, do we?
But if
Mark,
John
do we-
can't hear, yeah, if John can't hear us. He needs to hear us for us to have 5.
Okay, thank you.
Charles is still gone?
He's supposed to be back, but I have not heard from him.
There we go. We got 2 more commissioners. We're good.
All right, I guess I'm gonna leave and come back in and try anyway.
We'll wait for you, John. Was Realisteen one of the 2 commissioners that came on, Mark?
Let me check.
No.
Commissioner Nash is here, Commissioner Skolnick, and Commissioner Laring joined us.
Unless she's the phone number.
And we're checking now.
Well,
That's,
we'll give John
that's
30
not her
seconds
number.
if everybody's okay.
Her phone number is 1581, so that's not the one.
Do we have enough on, Mark?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, it is 3:31, September 10th. I will call the Muskegon County Transportation Committee to order.
Wait a minute.
Yes, we're waiting. I can't hear if she's talking to us, so can we get a roll call while we're waiting?
Yes. Commissioner Hovey Wright,
Here.
Chairman Hughes,
Here,
Commissioner Laring,
Here.
Commissioner Mahoney,
Here.
Commissioner Nash,
Here.
Commissioner Skolnick,
Here.
Commissioner Snyder, Commissioner Wilkins, and Commissioner Foster.
Here. And that gives us 5, right, or 6?
That's 7.
7.
We have a quorum, thank you.
Realisteen has been trying to get in. She's been waiting.
Yeah, Kristen's working with her.
Okay, good.
Okay, first up, I need an approval of the minutes of August 13th, 2020, please.
Anyone hear
So
me
moved.
now?
Yes,
Yes.
John.
We do.
Did we have support on that?
Support.
Or
All in favor, say yes.
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 All opposed, say no. That motion passes. We will go on to public comment on an agenda item, and Mark and Susie, we're counting on you.
I'm still not able to hear
actually,
anyone.
okay, all right.
John, there's a mute button on John. I see it when he comes on and goes off.
He can push his space bar, puts him on mute. So we'll call him and see if I can't get him on the phone as well.
Okay, I'll go very slow.
I don't see anybody
I do not,
raise their hands.
I do not either. There's nobody with their hand raised.
Okay, so we're gonna go
Commissioner
on.
Wilkins just joined.
Realistine, you're here? Realistine, can you hear us?
I don't see her microphone.
We'll go very slow and wait for her to chime in. We'll get to communications. Can I get a motion to place them all on file
So moved.
Support.
and support? All in favor, say yes, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? That motion passes. Thank you. And I'm gonna wait a minute for Realistine if everybody's okay on or on items for
She's
consideration.
not muted. She is not muted.
We
Okay,
just
then.
lost her too.
We're gonna go to items for consideration then. TR 20/09-32 Airport to approve obtaining a request for proposal from qualified firms to provide airport management and operation services for the Muskegon County Airport.
Can we see that motion?
Can you roll it up, please, for us, Kathy? She's probably on the phone with John or Realistine. Can you see it okay, Charles?
I was looking for the actual motion.
It's up at the top. It's a different
Yeah.
format.
Yeah,
It's a-
remember they changed formats.
Suggested motion.
I'll make the motion.
We get support?
Yes.
We have
Marcia.
motion and support. Now we will go to discussion.
I do have a question on this.
Yes, ma'am.
I was wondering, does this include the ability of the firm to do things like maybe put in a Federal Express or a UPS or something out there so that we would also have access to that? They would have access to our airport, and I couldn't tell from the motion to provide airport management and operation services. What kind of control does that give them?
Bob Lukens, are you on?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Bob Lukens, Community Development Director here. Yes, as you know, we've been having a difficult time finding an airport manager, and COVID compounded that issue. So we did have, during this time or during the past, say, 5 to 6 months, we've had a couple of firms that have approached us about the potential for providing management and operation services for the county airport. So what this motion is a request to develop an RFP for airport management services that would in effect allow the management firm, if one were to come on as the manager of the airport or the management firm for the airport, to run it, as a business for the most part. They would be able to bring in new companies or corporations into the airport to provide whatever services, aeronautical related services they may provide, such as a FedEx or UPS or one of the other courier services, to allow them to rent space in our airport, can potentially construct hangars at the airport, whatever they would need to do to make their business work through the Muskegon County Airport. So the short answer to your question, Commissioner Hughes, is yes.
And could you also tell me how long you are anticipating this request to be for?
We really haven't even talked about that at this time. The two firms that did talk to us have been managing some airports for 2 to 5 years. The typical contract terms are anywhere from 2 to 5 years.
Or how much, I'm sorry, somebody was talking, I couldn't hear
Again
you. Bob.
now?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
How long would that be for, Bob?
Anywhere from 2 to 5 years would be an initial term.
Okay, or we could go 2 years with an opportunity to renew for another 2 years too.
Yes, and all that would be developed in the RFP, so we
Okay.
could really write it however we would want to.
Okay, will that come back before us? Before it goes out or not? I'm not
I-
requiring it, I just wondered if you had
No,
We
any.
I don't
we
believe-
could give everybody a copy, Bob. This is
We could
Mark.
do
We could
that,
give everybody
sure.
a copy before it's sent out.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah. And I think one of the reasons we're doing this, commissioners, is because, there has been some general fund contributions to the airport in the past, and I believe that there is a graph that can show that. Would you be able to pull that up, Kathy or Kristen?
Mark,
It's coming.
Bob, could you tell me, when we talk about general fund contributions, has there been more general fund contributions to the airport or to the MATs?
Well, if you look in the past,
Airport.
here's the graph. If you look in the past, in FY 15 and 16, there were some large contributions, and that was because of some large capital projects at the airport. Same with FY 19. But, I would say at the airport, the general fund contributions have been higher to the airport than MATS.
Okay, thank you.
If you see the FY 21 number there, there is approximately $500,000 indicated, and that is money that we would otherwise not have for some really needed items at the airport, including the tractor mowers that we talked about at the last Transportation Committee meeting and the board approved. The roof architecture and engineering for the terminal roof.
Okay.
We're currently working on an RFP for that. And then we also talked about the boilers in the past too that are needed for the terminal. So without that CARES Act funding for FY 21, those are items that we would have had to come to the county board and to the general fund for funding for those items. Because we're at a critical point with those three items for the airport.
I have
Now-
a question.
Go ahead, Marcia.
Yeah, so who's running the airport now?
The county runs the airport now. Myself
I
and
know the
Rita.
county does, but what about, wasn't there a manager?
Yeah, he left.
There was, yes. The manager resigned, and we currently are advertising for an airport manager at this time, but we're having a very difficult time filling that position. And part of that is because of the size of our airport and the frequency of the commercial flights, and also because of COVID. People are reluctant to move. And every application that we've received, every qualified application that we've received thus far has been out of state, from out of state applicants. And those applicants, after some discussions about the position, have elected not to pursue it. So it's been rather difficult finding a airport manager. And,
Yeah.
we continue to work on that, but this would open up another potential option for us. And
Okay, so,
again, this motion is just simply to develop an RFP.
right. When did he move or resign?
In
Oh,
August of 19.
Okay. I think that's all. Oh, this basically would privatize the airport?
No.
It would be owned by the county and it would be operated by a private vendor.
Okay, all right.
Any
Thank
other
you.
comments?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I-
Ken.
I do have one comment, and it is, what would the potential impact be on the employees that we have at the airport?
Right.
It would depend on how we write the RFP. It could
Okay.
either be that, the selected firm would have hiring power and they could hire persons as they wish, or it could be another management model where our county employees were retained and we would have basically an airport manager and other supervisors come in and manage the employees.
Okay. As long as they were protected with seniority and that kind of thing, I think it'd be all right.
Go ahead, Charles. You had a question?
Yeah, I was, these general fund contributions to the airport, those are outside of the regular normal budget for the airport. Am I correct?
Yes, those are mainly for matches to federal and state aeronautics grants. So, you know, the grants for runways, we had a runway resurface several years ago. And, you know, of course, those are $1 million projects. So we have to provide a match to that. And that's where most recently the general fund contributions have come to provide that match.
Okay, so what is our annual budgeted amount for the airport?
Oh, I don't have it in front of me, but I believe it's in about the $3.5 to $4 million area.
Okay. Now, hiring a firm, have we looked at the potential cost and how it will reflect from what we normally have out at the airport?
We really have not, Commissioner. We've talked to a couple firms that provide the service, and that's as far as we got. We didn't discuss any costs or anything like that because we need to develop a scope of work for the RFP and define exactly what we want as far as management and supervision out at the airport would be.
So are we looking at doing a cost analysis once we get this sent out and analyzed?
A cost analysis from the responses?
Yes, I mean, a cost analysis from what we currently have in our budget to what it potentially would be in this change.
Oh, yes, we'll look at all that, sir.
So
Any other comments?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Some of the capital expenses that show up in that graph we just saw of what we put into the airport, who would be responsible for those for capital expense? Would that
For
still
capital
be-
expenses, it would still be the grants would be run through the airport, but the management firm would facilitate those grant requests. Again, those are part of the larger airport capital improvement program, which looks at capital improvements far out, 5, 6, 7 years out, just for the sake of planning. Because, these, especially runway and taxiway resurfacing projects and that sort of thing, those are multi-year projects typically.
Right.
I have
Any
another
other
question,
comments?
if I could, Gary.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Do we have a way that we plan ahead for those projects? Are we saving for the projects that we know that are coming up every year?
Yes, there's a certain amount of funding that is discretionary funding that can be banked. And
I see.
we can use that for projects for like runway resurfacing and taxiway moving. Like for instance, now we have a project that has been in the planning stage, and we've been working with the FAA on Taxiway A and the movement of Taxiway A. It has to be moved over like about, I think it's either, I'm not sure of the footage, but it's either 50 or 100 feet. It has to be moved because of FAA regulations. So, we look at those different projects and plan far in advance for those. And many of those projects come at the request of the FAA. They may change the parameters for airport operations. So those projects will be moved into the capital improvement plan for the airport.
Thank you, Bob.
Any other comments? Hearing none, before we vote, I'd like to say thank you for administration for coming up with some way to shore up our airport to give it a future in Muskegon County. As we see by the spending, we're on a path we're not going to like. So thank you. Without any comments, we're going to take a vote. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Like a roll
Yes.
call.
We'll do a roll call if you want.
Chairman Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Laring,
Yes.
Commissioner Mahoney,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Commissioner Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Snyder, Commissioner Wilkins.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
we
Can. Commissioner Hovey
Can
Wright
you hear me?
Yes,
and Commissioner Foster.
Yes, and that motion passes. Thank you. Realistine, do you want to take the meeting back?
No, you can go ahead. I'm here.
Okay, I will go ahead, ma'am. Thank you. We'll move on to the next one. TR 20/09-33 Transit, move to authorize award of RFB 20-2386 for a 5-year period of bulk diesel and unleaded fuel delivery to Muskegon County Area Transit System, Muskegon County Airport, Muskegon County Solid Waste, and Muskegon County Wastewater Management System to Van Man Petroleum Group.
So moved.
second,
We have a motion and support. Any discussion?
I do have one question on that.
Yes, ma'am.
On that, what if we make the transit system into an authority? Will they still, I mean, is it just how much we buy that we pay for that way, or are we committed to a certain amount?
Who wants to take that question?
Commissioners, this is Jim Coon, Muskegon Area Transit System. What this contract would do is just establish the price for any fuel that we do purchase. So if there's a future change, we're not necessarily locked into taking a quantity of fuel on this contract.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
So I just want to be clear on this. It says that they're the lowest markup per gallon. Explain that lowest markup per gallon.
Sure. Well, Commissioners, the price of fuel fluctuates every day at the rack. So the rack is where the large tanker trucks go to fill up. And that price fluctuates every day. And we are not holding these vendors to any specific rack price. That is commodity pricing that everybody accesses. So what we've gone out and solicited is haulers to identify how much they will charge to bring the fuel to us and then what they'll charge. So what we actually end up purchasing and locking in is the markup rate. And we pay the various commodity rate depending on the day and what happens in OPEC and everything else.
So essentially, they were the low bidder.
Right, it's the low bidder to haul the fuel to us.
Kind of sounds like we're taking the middleman out, which is a good thing.
Yeah, and for the past 5 years, we have had a middleman in it. That was kind of a unique situation that arose 5 years ago. And Van Manen has been delivering the fuel, and this time they've come directly to us with a better price.
Great. Any other questions for Jim? Hearing none, do we want a roll call, guys, or an all yes? I don't care what way you guys want to do it.
This is financial, so I think we need a roll call.
Okay, we will do a roll call on it.
Commissioner Laring,
Yes.
Commissioner Mahoney,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Commissioner Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Snyder,
yes,
Commissioner Wilkins, Commissioner Wilkins, you're
She's on
muted.
mute.
you want to nod your head?
Thumbs
Your
up.
head?
Thumbs up, something.
Commissioner Wilkins, do you want to nod your head or shake your head?
I think she said yes.
Yes, she did.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Hovey Wright,
Yes.
Chairman Hughes,
Yes.
and Commissioner Foster.
Yes, and that motion passes. Thank you. TR 20-09-34, Transit to move the authorized MATS to issue a request for proposal for a hosted intelligent transportation system solution for implementation into the MATS program.
So moved.
Second,
We have a motion and support. Discussion?
this is what you've been waiting for, Charles.
Yeah, let's put
Count
a
the
rush.
people.
Yeah, I hope that this gives us what we want.
Looks like more than that.
I really
Commissioner,
think that this would be a big improvement to our system. I really think it might even help improve ridership.
I agree with you,
Madam
sir.
Chair, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, really.
I wanted for you to explain that 34 to me.
Sure, Commissioners, this is Jim Coons. So a couple of months ago, we were asked to identify some solutions for collecting data on the buses, particularly as it relates to boarding by bus stop, boarding by time of day, et cetera. And so we began looking at that, and there are a lot of options to do that type of thing. Some of them are, I guess, what I'll say, very crude or, home built almost. And, but there are also a lot of solutions that are available in the transit community and are being used by transit systems around the nation. What you can do is, if you set out to do just passenger counting, you end up installing a lot of equipment on the buses, including, and then you end up with wireless data contracts for every vehicle, and you end up with computer brains on all the buses. And so what a lot of systems will do is, before they just start at the passenger counting level, they'll take a step back and do what's called an intelligent transportation system. And there are a lot of different aspects and pieces to an intelligent transportation system, but really they all begin with communication from the bus as to where it is, and then you can build onto that. So what we're looking to do here is identify a host of, identify some solutions where we can get you the passenger data counting that is wanted, but also get information pushed out to the customers. That would be information on where the bus is, maybe when the next bus will come to their bus stop. And then we can also use that for operations, so that we know if buses are hitting their time points on time. There are many other pieces you can add to it, such as fare collection equipment, et cetera. And what we'll have to do with this RFP is start with the starting steps and then allow the vendors to identify what we can afford to add on. Long story short is, with a renewed system design, we can look at adding this to it and really take that next step on how we communicate to the customers.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question too, if I could.
Yes, ma'am.
Jim, first of all, I'd like to tell you that, it's never a good idea to let the vendors tell you how much you can afford to add on. Second, have you gone to Grand Rapids or any of the surrounding areas like we asked you to, and come back with what they liked, what they didn't like, and a copy of their RFP? Or are you trying to start at the very beginning and reinvent a new wheel?
No, we are trying to reach out to some of our neighboring transit systems, and I'm still waiting on a response from Grand Rapids in particular, but I'm reaching out to others as well to get examples of what they've done. We're certainly not looking to tell the vendor or have the vendor tell us, what our budget should look like, but at the same time, they're the ones that know the best what their systems do. In this scenario, we are looking at a hosted system. And so what that means is that we will be relying a bit on the vendors, I guess, infrastructure, the vendors, data centers, et cetera, to host some of this data. So when the vehicle transmits data, it's not necessarily coming back here to us to try to create websites and create all of these other items. We would be looking at doing a hosted solution. So again, we do need to rely a little bit on what services they offer, but that will be a much cleaner solution for a system of our size.
Jim, do you know of anyone who's using this service like this now?
I do, and I can point to one in particular that was recently put together, and it's not, you know, in our backyard, but it's an example in Stanislaus County, California. It's just one example, but they have
Is their
a hosted-
population close to ours?
It is in terms of their system service size. I know that question was asked, and I took some notes. So yes, they are similar to us in terms of the size of their transit system. And several others that I've looked at are similar in size, and a lot of them are doing the hosted system. And again, so when you go to, for example, when you go to Stanislaus County's transit website, it will say, you know, click here for our live system. Well, when you click there, it actually brings you out to a vendor site that's co-branded with the local transit agency. And so the vendors are able to convey all this information in more of a standardized way to the end user. And it avoids us having to create, maintain, develop, et cetera, the interfaces that these vendors already have in place throughout the transit world.
I'd like to make a motion that we table this until we have some more information from the local people around us that have done something like this before we try and even create an RFP for this. We need to know, I think we need more information. So I'd
We
like
have
to
a
make a
motion.
motion to table.
We have a motion. Do we have support?
Support.
We have a motion and support. That will be a roll call, please, if we could.
Wait a minute. I wanted to make some discussion on this because I hate to delay this. I think Jim is moving in that direction because we do have to put this together. And he does need that information. I would recommend also that he would contact the NACO transportation division because you can also connect with or definitely find out any other similar communities around the country that are that same size, like California or any other state that may have it, that has a similar system, and be able to collect that data from there. But I'd hate to delay this because we're trying to implement our changes with our busing as we speak. We wanted to try to get this information in and get this proposal developed so that we can integrate it into the new buses. I mean, into the new changes as we move forward. So I mean, I definitely want to see this thing move forward with some good information, but I think it would be more, it would slow the process to table this, especially without a date.
I would
and
make
so-
it, I would be happy to make it till the next transportation meeting, Charles, but I mean, we could have already had this done if Jim had done what we'd asked him to do and get some local information from some neighbors that could have possibly given us an RFP that would have worked. But just,
Well, and I would
that's my
definitely-
concern, is that we don't know the right
I would
information.
definitely support it until the next meeting, so that we can get that information.
I would,
And I
I
would
would make my
also
motion-
encourage.
I would make my motion to table for till the next transportation meeting.
Philistine, do you agree with that?
Yes, I'll support that because I
Okay.
want to learn more about it also, because I think this is an area where we can fine tune some stuff.
So now we have a motion and support to the next transportation meeting. Do we have to take a vote on this, or can we have any more comments or discussion?
I have some comment I'd like to make, if I may.
Yes, sir.
So one, I take offense that Bob didn't do what we asked him to do. He did do what we asked him to do. He was asked to get data on the residents. That's a crucial part of this. It is budget neutral. It does provide data, and it also fits within the parameters of what we've been working on for the last year and a half. This was an integral part of the plan that the MATs would move towards a digital format and this is part of that program, that they would move into a digital format where the riders could actually get online, track their buses and their routes. So it fits both of them, the request for tracking information, and it will provide data that was requested that he provide. And he also said he did reach out to Grand Rapids. He can't really be held responsible for not doing something that Kent County decided that they just didn't want to return his phone call. So I guess I am not in support of table. I think we need to move forward with this.
Mr. Chair, could I make a comment, please?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Bob.
I have the advantage of having dual monitors, and I just went to the Stanislaus Regional Transit site. It says, stop waiting for your bus, know where your bus is and when it'll be at your stop with start live real-time bus information. I don't see the point in waiting, because all we're doing is moving ahead to get more information, putting it off another month. This is pretty cool. There's maps of the whole thing. This would be a good, I don't know how much it costs, but it looks like a good, this particular one, and there may be others.
Bob, and I agree with you. My concern is that we didn't get a copy of their RFP. And most counties are more than happy to share with you what they've done. And they're in a county that's in California. We're in Michigan. And there's everybody around us has got MATs and or systems that they run. Couldn't we get something from them? And I've not heard a word at the Transportation Policy Board that anybody in Grand Rapids has been contacted. And they've been looking at Muskegon getting something like this for a long time. And I've got no response from anybody in Grand Rapids or anybody that they've even reached out. And I don't want to go ahead with a request for proposal until we know what we've got around here. And letting us go out for a request for proposal, I think prohibits us finding out what's available here that we know is working in our area. That's why I requested that. If the board decides, not me, I'm just trying to explain why it is. I think it's important that we get some information from some local area counties.
Can I ask one more question?
Charles.
Is Jim Coons still in here?
Yes, I'm on.
Jim Coons.
Yes, sir.
Would it be possible for you to be able to gather 2 or 3 different requests for proposals from some of these organizations that may have it before our next full board meeting?
Yes, I can certainly collect some requests for proposals, but I will indicate that, for example, Grand Rapids, from my understanding, and again, I've not received the response that I requested, that's a much larger system and they tend to host these things internally. I have spoken to Kalamazoo Metro. Kalamazoo Metro purchased their system as I guess I'll call it a customized system for them. They are looking at going to a hosted solution, have not yet done that. Holland does not have a system right now, to my knowledge. I've reached out to them as well. I would tend to say that there are more similarities between us and other small transit systems outside of West Michigan than there are between us and some of the larger neighboring systems. So we can collect a number of different RFPs, but the approach to the project is going to be different in each of those RFPs. Some are going to be building their own system. Some are going to be building upon an existing farebox collection equipment system that they have, and we don't have any of those items. And so what I'm proposing to do, and again, I've not begun writing it, so we will be searching out other samples, and we'll be seeking vendors that can propose a solution to us. And the solution will include, at least the first 3 bullet points on this agenda item. And then we'll also ask them to give us ideas on how to incorporate some of the other systems. When we have those proposals, we'll look at that. We'll look at the different pricings. We'll bring back to you the financial plan for how we accomplish it.
Well, I think your answer just did what I was looking for. Because we have to understand this is a request for proposal, again, that Jim has not written yet. It's going to be unique to Muskegon, so it's not going to be exactly like other facilities. So this is a work in progress that has to be developed. And I think that those other proposals can give you examples, but we're never going to have that exact until that proposal is really written out. And I'm sure that we can get a copy of that before it goes out. So I'm just trying to educate our commissioners that, this is a big project. It's a ever growing project. It's ever changing project. And it won't be unique until that proposal is put together. And that'll come from multiple informations from different units. But I agree with the other commissioners. I think that this is something that Jim is working towards. We can't really, it's hard to just identify exactly what we're doing until we get these proposals developed and out. And then they still have to come back to us to approve those. So, other commissioners will get continuously educated as we move forward with these projects. But I think delaying it will not really help anything. It's just going to, delay us processing these approvals. But this is something that we've always said we wanted, and we should move forward with it.
Yes.
Appreciate that, Charles.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I would agree with Charles and Zach and forget who else, but Bob, that I think we need to move forward. It sounds like Mr. Coons is checking with surrounding areas and trying to find the best system for us. And I think to delay it is not, it's already going to be doing what you're asking, Susie. So I think we need to move forward and I'm assuming we'll see the RFP. So anyway, I would be in support of moving forward.
Okay, any other comment?
Yeah, Gary, I have a comment.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Jim, if you will get me the name of the person you talked to in Grand Rapids, I'll get with the Grand Valley Metro Council. I sit on the Wimserdick board, get with the Grand Valley Metro Council and with Wimserdick, have them get you the proposals and the information from the counties around us. And if that will happen, I will withdraw my motion to table as long as we get to approve the request for proposals before they go out.
Commissioner Wilkins, do you agree with that?
Yes.
And Mr. Coons, can you fulfill that?
Well, I can provide information on who I'm trying to contact at the Rapid. I don't know what the protocol is for the county board reapproving the document. If that's what administration would like me to do, I can work to comply with that.
I don't know that we've even seen the document we're approving. We're just allowing you to get a request for proposals ready. I didn't know we were authorizing you to go ahead with that. I would rather you got it ready and let us look at it, make sure everything is on it correctly.
Actually, when you think about it, these requests for proposals, we always typically approve before they're written, no matter what they are. And the reason we do that is because the proposal still has to come back before us to approve moving forward with accepting any type of proposal. So we'll have to approve it before it goes any further whatsoever anyway. So all we're doing is authorizing them to draft it up and get it sent out. And I think if we get into that, we're starting to get into more micromanaging, which we really don't.
I agree with that.
Okay,
Right.
all right. That'll be fine.
So we have a withdrawal of the motion to table, am I correct?
I withdraw my motion. If Phyllis will withdraw her second.
She already
I'll
said.
withdraw the second.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, So that is off the table. Do we have any other discussion on this RFQ? Hearing none, roll call, please, just to make sure everybody says how they feel.
Before you take that roll call,
Yes, Charles.
I just wanted to reiterate, Jim, you can still get us that information before the full board, correct?
Information regarding now what some of the other communities are doing, or information
Correct.
regarding who contacted?
Yes. Good information around some of those
I
other
can
proposals.
identify who, I'm sorry.
We want
Yeah,
to see
there's some more updated information around those proposals with similar cities like us.
yeah, we want to see Grand Rapids and Ottawa and some of the counties around us that what they have.
I will do my best to get you some more information before the full board. I can only get you what I can get a response. What I
understand
can get from them, right? Yes.
Doing your best is all we can ask for, sir. Roll
Yes,
call
sir.
then, please.
Commissioner Mahoney,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Commissioner Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Snyder. Commissioner Snyder,
If you can see him, give him a thumbs up, thumbs down.
I can't see.
He's
There you
muted.
go, thumbs up.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes,
Commissioner Hovey Wright,
Yes.
Chairman Hughes,
Yes,
Commissioner Laring,
Yes.
Commissioner Foster.
Yes, and that motion passes. Thank you. We'll go on to old business. Do we have any old business for this committee? No old business from no one? We will go on to new business. Do we have any new business for this committee? I see we have a fair collection on there. Who will take that, Jim?
Yes.
yes.
It's all yours, Jim.
I'm not sure what happened to
I'm
Jim,
sorry.
but this letter we included, there he is. Go for it, Jim.
I'm sorry about that. Commissioners, included in your packet is a memorandum that I sent to administration. I'd spoken with the administrator. He asked me to put together a timeline of what our plans were for both resuming fare collection and reopening the Herman Ivory terminal. So we've put out several dates here in this memorandum. We're working toward fulfilling this schedule. And the administrator asked that we include it for your information under new business. On here, we hope to, beginning as early as next week, resume front door boarding on the buses on the fixed routes. We have installed plexiglass barriers between the driver and the front boarding area so that that further protects our employees. And because of the features of the bus, front door boarding is always a better option for the customer and for our vehicle operations. So we hope to resume that next week, or we plan to. Beginning September 28th is, of course, our big service change implementation date. We will begin the Reserve-A Ride program that day. We will collect fares on Reserve-A Ride beginning immediately. We'll also, targeting that date to try to get our RFP out for the micro transit service. We're still working on that. Effective October 5, we plan to open the Herman Ivory terminal. That would be open weekdays from 8 to 5. We'll have appropriate signs in the building regarding distancing, mask wearing, et cetera. That will give customers access to the restrooms, the vending area, and then also to our customer care window so they can ask questions about the new service and be able to transact any business there. We will have seating available, but we intend to have a limitation on how long people can reside in the building. We, on October 12th, intend to resume the sale of monthly bus passes. So that would begin the sale of November passes and the sale of any ticket media that we would use. And again, we would also allow exchanges of some passes. So people that had an April pass, there were very few April passes that were actually sold, but there are some out there. And then March passes that people did not get their full value on. we would allow them to exchange those. We also plan to exchange any 10-ride punch cards and exchange those for single ride tickets. That way the drivers and the customers are not interacting and handing off paper to each other. The passengers can swap those out, and then they can just use their single ride tickets and deposit those in the fare box. So all of that will begin October 12th, and then November 2 would be the date where we begin actually requiring passengers to pay fares again on the fixed route buses and the ADA service. So that is our projected timeline right now for resuming those activities. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Jim?
Nope.
Jim, I
Wait,
do have a question.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, gentlemen.
As we move forward with the changes that are going to be implemented here in September, we don't have anything in our collection currently to collect that data. But I guess I'm really concerned with how we monitor the reserve ride and our efforts in making sure that we're meeting capacity. Can you explain to me how we plan to do our best to make sure that that is happening?
Sure. Well, September 28th is coming very quickly. And because we're allowing a 2-week advanced scheduling window for that service, we'll actually begin taking calls next week, Monday the 14th, for potential reserve ride trips. Mm-hmm. All of those passengers that are requesting trips on reserve ride will be funneled through our scheduling software, which is essentially what we've used for GoBus. So we'll be able to identify those trips and how many are being requested, by whom, and then also identify if we're turning down customers' trip requests. So we'll be able to pull information out of our computerized system, depending on what type of. Right now, I'm expecting that we will operate as many as 4 vehicles in service on that program. Mm-hmm. And if it looks like that's not enough, we'll have to look at any reallocations. But I think 4 should be plenty for what I'm anticipating at this point.
Okay. And could you maybe update us with the operations information, maybe on a monthly basis, to demonstrate how many rides we're giving versus how many rides we're denying?
I will do my best to provide that. I probably won't have anything for you at the October committee meeting because we won't have started much of that yet, but hopefully in November, I'll be able to show you October data.
That would be great.
There was somebody else.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Marsh.
Yeah, I forget how much it costs for the reserve ride.
So on the reserve ride program, we've established it with a $4 general public fare. It would be $2 for a person with disability or a senior citizen, which is the same price that most folks were paying for GoBus. If an individual if an individual is traveling to or from a residence or business west of Henry Street, we will allow them to use their existing bus pass for the MAT system to satisfy their fare payment.
Anyone else? Did anybody else have any comments for Jim?
Sorry, one other thing, commissioners, if there is a copy on our website, we now have kind of a summary of what the 3 different areas of change are effective September 28th. If you wanted to look at details of the reserve ride program or details of the ADA complimentary paratransit program, there are some links embedded in that information that will bring you to kind of a summary report of how those services operate.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, let's move on to public comment. I'm going to count on Mark and Susie or whoever else can see the audience.
I think everybody's ready for Public Works, Commissioner.
I am ready myself. Nobody out there on public comment? Final board comments? No
Move
final
for
board comment.
adjournment.
Motion to adjourn. Thank you, Realistine. Can we get support for that?
Support.
Or
All in favor, say yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
We are adjourned. Thank you. We'll wait for you, Mark, to tell
Thank you,
us.
guys.
Remember, we'll be moving into Public Works.